In the last episode, I discussed about reaping what you have sown. Even the Prophet of Islam did not have a doubt about the fruit of his sowing. He knew exactly what he had sown, and therefore, he also had the confidence in the result of his actions. He said the following: I do not fear that you will associate others with Allah after I am gone, but I fear that you will compete with one another for worldly gains, and you will fight one another and be destroyed as those who came before you were destroyed. These words form one of the last sentences of Muhammad. Whether it is a blessing or curse on his followers, you can decide. Welcome once again. Please watch the previous episode about the death of the Prophet of Islam to fully appreciate the confusion and manipulations within the Islamic leadership that we are bringing up in this episode. Click on the info card on the top right-hand corner to go to the playlist containing the previous episode. If you are new here, consider subscribing to this channel. In the last episode, we understood that Muhammad was poisoned and killed by none other than his wives and their fathers. The team of 4 successfully ensured the death. However, they had to make sure that the caliphate rule comes to them and not to Ali, who was the son-in-law of the Prophet. Naturally, the Prophet of Islam wanted the controls of the empire should go to his progeny, and the right option was to make Ali his successor. However, his other Sahabas would not allow that to happen. Let us look at few more references which solidifies our understanding that Ali was the real anointed caliph by the Prophet of Islam. This is a Sunni hadith, so do not accuse me of being biased towards the Shias. What more do you need to confirm that Ali got the one and only franchise to represent Muhammad? None of the other Sahabas got the right to represent Muhammad. This hadith pretty much closes the case for any opposition to Ali as the successor to the Prophet of Islam. This is another Sunni book called The Life of the Prophet by Ibn Ishaq, where he was surrounded by the Sahabas and he was selecting his successor after his last Hajj. The man who is narrating is Ali, and he is the son of Abu Talib. The Prophet put his hand on the back of Ali and said, "This is my brother, my executor, and my successor among you. Hearken to him and obey him." The other Sahabas took it lightly and made fun of that. Obviously, they did not like the statement. The Prophet of Islam anointed Ali, his son-in-law, as his official successor in the Ghadir Qum. It was a gathering of Muslims to attend a sermon delivered by the Islamic Prophet on the 16th of March 632 AD. In this sermon, the Prophet of Islam explicitly said that Ali is the master of all of you in the same way I am your master. He said that he is the Madinah of knowledge, and Ali is the gate of that Madinah. There are many such statements from the Prophet of Islam which explicitly appoints Ali as his successor. These statements indeed created a rift within the Islamic leadership, and hence, the plot to usurp Muhammad and install Abu Bakr as the next caliph. Now let me establish a context which no true Muslim will be able to negate. Surah 5 verse 3 was a statement given by the Prophet of Islam at his last Hajj, where he declared that the religion of Islam has been completed. Therefore, there is no reason to assume that the Quran will go into any further additions or updations. Given this context, let us now look into an event that happened at the deathbed of the Prophet. Let me read it for you. Ibn Abbas reported, when Allah's messenger was about to leave this world, there were persons around him in his house, Umar bin al-Khattab being one of them. Allah's apostle said, "Come, I may write for you a document, you would not go astray after that." Thereupon Umar said, "Verily Allah's messenger is deeply afflicted with pain. You have the Quran with you. The book of Allah is sufficient for us." Those who were present in the house differed. Some of them said, "Bring him the writing material, so that Allah's messenger may write a document for you and you would never go astray after him." And some among them said what Umar had already said. When they indulged in nonsense and began to dispute in the presence of Allah's messenger, he said, "Get up and go away." Ubaidullah said, Ibn Abbas used to say, "There was a heavy loss, indeed a heavy loss, that, due to their dispute and noise, Allah's messenger could not write or dictate the document for them." So Umar was successful in foiling the writing of the last document which the Prophet of Islam wanted to write. This hadith negates an oft-repeated lie by Muslims that the Prophet was an unlearned person. But the real point is what I would like to focus now. If the Quran was completed by the Prophet as he declared in Surah 5 verse 3, what exactly is the documents that the Prophet wanted to write now at his deathbed? Undoubtedly, it was his will. The will is the last document and the most important piece of instruction to be carried out after the death of the person. But the cunning fellow Umar made it look like the Prophet wanted to add some more additions into the Quran, and on that pretext he denied the Prophet his last wish. Do you know why did he do that? To know more about the sinister plot that was hatched by Umar and Abu Bakr with their daughters, please check the previous video of this series. To watch that, click on the info card on the top right corner. Now continuing with the deathbed details, Al-Tabari tells us that Muhammad was very upset with Umar for having foiled the attempt to write his last will. Interestingly, Ali was not there at the deathbed of the Prophet. He was supposedly sent for some assignment far away. How can we not see the plot being implemented meticulously by the four who hatched it? Why are Muslims shying away from the fact that is staring at their face? Now when the Prophet could not get it written, he said his will as his last words. Sahih al-Bukhari 4431 says that there are three elements in his last will. Number 1. Drive away the pagans out of the Arabian Peninsula. Number 2. Respect and give gifts to the foreign delegations. Number 3. The entire group of people standing beside the deathbed forgot his very last point of the will. How convenient? Let us get real. They all ensured that the appointment of Ali as the caliph has to be forgotten. Period. Remember, these are the very last words of the Prophet, on whom the entire religion of Islam stands or falls. If his very last words can be forcefully forgotten, do you think their other words on which the whole set of hadiths is built upon can be relied? Surely the entire lot of hadiths too are manipulated to fit into their agenda. Now, do you understand why I personally do not accept the Islamic history as told by Muslim scholars as true statements, precisely because it is filled with lies, manipulations, and embellishments? Interestingly, even in their lies they do not synchronize. A simple forensic examination of the Islamic hadiths will not stand the initial round of questions. Muslims did not bury the corpse of Muhammad for 2 or 3 days after his death. Were they really waiting for him to resurrect like how Jesus did? Notice the portion of this Sahih Bukhari hadith. Umar was doing a good piece of acting, knowing very well that he can now try to throw dust into the eyes of general Muslims who had no clue of the plot. Another highlight of this hadith is that it exposes the false god of Muslims. Notice the words of Abu Bakr, where he acknowledges that many Muslims did indeed worship Muhammad, which is what we see even today. The last days of Muhammad and his death were a great disappointment for general Muslims. However, it was a glad tiding for Abu Bakr and Umar, who successfully implemented their plan with the help of their daughters. When we continue to read this hadith, we find that there is a controversy which arose between the Ansars, who wanted 2 caliphs, one for Ansars and the other for the emigrants who came from Mecca. But we notice how Abu Bakr and Umar skillfully managed to thwart that demand and decided on a single caliph. Meanwhile, these usurpers, Abu Bakr and Umar, send Ali along with the Banu Hashim people to prepare for the burial of the dead body of the Prophet. This way, they ensured that Ali was nowhere around to be a contender for the post of the Khalifa. As the discussion progressed, Umar proposed the name of Abu Bakr and was accepted as the next caliph of the Islamic Ummah. You cannot but appreciate the way Abu Bakr and Umar navigated through the events with meticulous planning. They will put great politicians of today to shame in the way how they prepared the background and played like innocents before the people and Ali. Ali was basically an amateur who had absolutely no clue of the events played inside the private huddle of Abu Bakr and Umar. You might be wondering, why did Umar agree to Abu Bakr as the caliph? The answer is simple. Abu Bakr was an old man, and Umar knew that he would not last long before he ascends the throne of the Khalifa. As this hadith is from the Sunni side, they have tried to omit out the unpleasant part of the entire event, which is called as Saqifa. However, that was not how it was. Even a simple Wikipedia search will give you a better picture how violent the event was. The appointment was not a unanimous one. People who did not agree to Umar and Abu Bakr was beaten up, and only one group of the whole crowd pledged allegiance to Abu Bakr. This is the place where the Sunni-Shia split first started appearing. It is quite amusing that Muhammad did not know the people he was surrounded with. He had given the title of al-Siddiq to this same Abu Bakr, who grabbed his position after assassinating him. Al-Siddiq means the truthful. In the meanwhile, those who did not accept Abu Bakr as the caliph pledged their allegiance to Ali. It included Abbas ibn Muttalib, the uncle of the Prophet, Zubair the Sahaba, and bin Aswad, among others. Abu Bakr reportedly tasked his friend Umar with securing Ali's pledge of allegiance, as expressed by the Sunni writer Tabari. Umar led an armed mob to Ali's residence and threatened to set the house on fire if Ali and his supporters would not pay their allegiance to Abu Bakr. All refused, and so the house was surrounded by an armed band led by Abu Bakr and Umar, who threatened to set it on fire if Ali and his supporters refused to come out and swear allegiance to Abu Bakr. The scene grew violent and Fatima was furious. As a result of this fight, the house was set on fire by the group of Abu Bakr, and in the process, Muhammad's only surviving daughter Fatima was killed. As mentioned earlier, there is no way we can ascertain the real facts. All these quotations from Islamic books should be taken with a pinch of salt. They are not at all reliable. They make fake histories. Let me show you one such instance where this Shia scholar is making a case about the age of Fatima. He is telling us that Fatima died when she was 18 years and 75 days. What shall we make out of it? Is it some competition with Aisha? To me, intellectual dishonesty is what I see all over Islam. That starts from the very small Muslim commentator who comments below my videos to the greatest of their scholars. The reason I am quoting their own books is because that is the only way they themselves will start believing how fraudulent is their religion. And these are the people who come to us and tell that Jesus was not crucified, he was just a prophet, he was not the Son of God, and many such things. Now let me turn your focus to another aspect of this tussle. When Fatima went to get her inheritance which Muhammad had acquired in his lifetime, we see a game at play. Abu Bakr tells her that she cannot have the inheritance of her father, as all that Muhammad possessed has to be owned by the entire Ummah. She was left defrauded. This is the precise reason why she was selectively killed in the fire. It is not some coincidence. Abu Bakr wanted the wealth problem to be settled once for all. No more Fatima, therefore no more inheritance. According to the Quran Surah 4 verse 11, Fatima, being the only daughter of Muhammad, she ought to get half of the entire estate of her father. This incident shows how much do the caliphs consider the Quran as holy word of Allah. Regardless of what Muslims say, Quran was a piece of document which had no validity from the very inception. It was a document that was created with the sole intention to manipulate the gullible and control the masses in the name of religion. I am sad to say that they have been successful in their endeavors. While the vultures of the Islamic Caliphate is feasting on the new prey that came their way as a result of the death of their prophet, I would like to remind you that we reap what we sow. The Prophet of Islam sowed lies, violence, and deception. Now the same has come to haunt his family. If you have liked this content, please press the like button and consider subscribing this channel to be notified of our future episodes. Till we meet again, may the Lord bless you and keep you.